Welcome to the farm.
Welcome to the farm. I'm Justin, and today we have the dually out in front of the shop, and I'm about to embark on the biggest repair project I have ever attempted by myself. I'm not a professional mechanic. I just work and tinker on things as they break, or in the case of my old case tractor, learning how to do stuff and just kind of experimenting, tinkering, and having fun. That being said, the big issue we have today, we got a blown head gasket on this truck. I know we have a blown head gasket because we have exhaust gases overpressurizing the cooling system, and my coolant reservoir is actually continually bubbling, relieving that pressure. I called up a shop, got an estimate on how much it would take to have the head gaskets replaced, and they quoted me anywhere from $7,000 to $8,000. That's a little more than I can afford to spend, so we're going to try to attempt it ourselves. I've watched a few videos on it. I've downloaded a software specifically for this truck through AllData. Basically, it's all the manufacturer manuals and stuff, so I purchased a subscription to that. We're going to use that along with some of these videos that I've watched to see if we can't get these head gaskets replaced ourselves. Here's a quick look at the AllData subscription I bought, and we got cylinder head replacement left side. Really, we're just replacing the gasket, but this will work. And it literally goes through every single step to take it apart. And then all the steps that don't have pictures, there's actually links that'll take you to other parts. So disconnect battery, single battery, two battery. We have two battery. Then I'll go through and walk you through the proper procedure to disconnect and reconnect the batteries. So all I need to do is follow this and go through every single one of these steps, and we should be able to replace our gaskets. So before we go ahead and start ripping parts off the truck and tearing into it, I want to talk a little bit about what I'm going to do for organization, because I'm going to be removing a ton of parts off this truck. The plan is to remove a part, come in here on these tables, set it down, working from one end of the table to the other, keeping everything in line as much as possible. And then all the fasteners that go for each individual part will be put in a Ziploc bag. I will put a label on each Ziploc bag for which part they go to, so that way I can keep everything in order, because this is going to be a very lengthy process for me. I'm going to be doing this when I have time, here and there, so it may be a couple months before I get this all back together, and I want to make sure I know where everything goes, because there's going to be a ton of fasteners and stuff. Then we got the next problem of all the electrical connections. The plan I have for that is I bought 14 different colored zip ties, so I can go ahead and put different colors on each end, so each end of the plug will get the same color. That way when I go to connect everything back together, as long as the colors match, then I know those two plugs go together. Now you're probably asking, what if I have more than 14 different plugs, which I do. Then I'll just double up the colors, making sure that the two colors on each end match, then I know those plugs will go together. So I'm hoping with all that organization and that extra time that this will be a fairly good process, and I won't be scratching my head going, where does this go? How did this go back together? The other thing I plan on doing is, as I remove a part, I'm going to take a picture. Remove a part, take a picture. Remove a part, take a picture. So that way I know what everything looked like as it came apart. Plus I'll also have these videos that I'm recording. So hopefully that'll be enough to make putting it back together pretty easy. All right, so looking at our checklist here, or our process for taking this apart, very first step, disconnect the batteries. So the next step they say is to discharge your AC system. I'm not going to do that. They have you actually taking the compressor out, moving it, getting it out of the engine bay. What I'm going to do, and what I saw in the video I watched on doing this, is I'm going to take the compressor loose, and then I'm just going to swing it out of the side and leave everything charged because I don't want to have to mess with trying to recover the gas and then refill and recharge the system. So I'm going to leave that as it is. So our next step is to drain the cooling system. So in order to drain the cooling system, I got to remove the inner fender wall on the right side here. And reading ahead, I know I have to remove the inner fender walls on both sides of the truck at some point anyway to get access to the heads during removal. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to jack the truck up. I'm going to remove the front tires, put this thing on jack stands, so that way I have more access inside these wells. All right, so located our lower radiator hose right here. We got to pop this snap ring and pop this hose off. I don't see a petcock or drain plug anywhere, so unfortunately I think we got to do it the messy way. All right, now we can work on removing the intake manifold. There's a bolt in the back here. Bolt on top. Bolt on the front. Next, we can remove the air cleaner duct to band clamps. Next is the air cleaner assembly. Do my first electrical plug here. Zip tie around there. Up next is our upper radiator hose. So next we need to disconnect our air charge pipe. There's a little ring you gotta turn counterclockwise till it stops and pull it off. Or to get at this charge pipe, I'm actually gonna take this support loose. So next we got to remove this intake manifold tube. So go ahead and do our electrical disconnections. So next we need to remove the oil dipstick tube. It's got 2 bolts. One bolt we already removed when we took off the intake. The other one's down up underneath here. So I got all the bolts for the dipstick loose. I'm not going to pull it out quite yet because it goes down towards the bottom of the block, goes behind the starter, and I can't see where it actually goes into the block, so I don't want to pull it out until maybe I get some more of this stuff cleared out of the way. So our next step is to take out this EGR tube right here. So next I want us to remove the fan and fan shroud assembly. So before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and remove this front cover here so we have better access. Now I need to work on removing all the bolts for the fan shroud. I believe there's 5 of them total. The top 4 were pretty easy to get at from the top, but the bottom one, I had to reach my hand in through the passenger wheel well all the way up to the shoulder with a socket wrench to get at that bolt. So the next thing I need to do is loosen up the actual fan clutch itself, which is this big nut right down here. I don't know if you can see it in the camera or not. Now there are ways to do it without the special tool. You just need to lock up the belt so that the fan can't spin. But I picked up a fan clutch wrench set for an impact. So we're gonna give that a shot and see how that works. So I got the fan out. The next thing they want us to do is remove the alternator, but I have two. So mine's gonna be a little bit different than what you guys have, if you guys just have a single one. But it should be just a matter of disconnecting a few wires, a few bolts, take the belt off, and we should be able to pull these right out. So now we got the two alternators out of the way. Next thing we need to move is the AC compressor. So now, if you remember, we were supposed to discharge the system, take this and completely remove it. We didn't do that, so we're just gonna unbolt it, swing it off to the side, and leave it sit. So next they want us to remove this crankcase pressure valve, and then we're supposed to remove this turbo intake. I don't think that I can really get to either one of those right now. I think I might be better off getting the EGR here out of the way first. So I think I'm gonna skip those steps for right now, continue removing stuff from the front of the engine, and free up a little more room to work on this. So our next step is to remove this EGR here. So I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the wiring for it. So I was so involved in working in the truck that I didn't realize my microphone battery had died. So a few clips coming up here where I don't have any audio. I'll go ahead and put some music in just so it's not dead silence. Thankfully, it didn't take me too long to notice, so hopefully it won't be too much of an interruption in the video. With the EGR out of the way, now I got access to remove this air intake. Next, we can remove the air charge pipe off the turbo. The other side of the pipe is down on the bottom end of the truck, and they have the band clamp screw facing up. So I just used a couple extensions, one really long one, to get all the way down to the bottom there and loosen it up. So now we need to remove the bracket for the alternator, this whole front assembly. And the first thing we need to do is remove this nut down here that holds this heater line. Next, we got to remove the AC compressor bracket and my other alternator bracket. Now I'm just removing that pulley so I can get at these two nuts. So unfortunately, I can't just slide this out. It binds up. The directions do show to pull the two studs out, and those are a Torx, which I do not have. So I'm gonna have to go pick up a set of Torx sockets so I can pull these studs out and then be able to lift this whole assembly out. Well, that's gonna do it for day one on the Duramax head gasket repair. I think we got pretty good start on it. I was hoping to get a little bit further, but that's always the case. And when you record things, it takes so much longer, and I'm not a professional mechanic. I'm just doing this in my driveway, so it's going to take me a lot longer than it would a mechanic. But I feel like we got a good start on it. I'm looking forward to getting back on it again another day and fully getting this thing disassembled. Just want to say thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys learned something, found this interesting, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.